So this afternoon we are going to be doing some bubble dome thinking.
The questioning strategies we use at Bubble Dome have been specifically endorsed by Edward de Bono, who came up with the 6 thinking hats. We use questioning strategies that involve creative questioning, critical questioning, and the ability for students to develop their own questions. The open and interesting brief is really critical to the success of Bubble Dome's workshops. The brief has to cover unusual themes, it has to cover new content that children haven't explored before.
Bubble Dome thinking is a little bit different, right? You've got to employ a few different thinking strategies to get around some of the tasks that I'm going to ask of you today. Our goal for the rest of the afternoon is to make a water house.
The importance of having an open brief is that it lets children move out of what they already know into new imaginary worlds.
All right, what do we think of? What are some immediate first impressions? Way down the back.
What on earth is a water house?
It was a bit weird, you know what I mean? Water house.
I kind of imagined kind of like a Killatartan's kind of water and fish.
The initial idea generation time is a time where all children need to participate to their maximum ability.
Instead of just keeping that what in your head, you actually stick your hand up and you say, hang on, I've got a question, and ask a sensible question.
To do that, the teacher really needs to stress to the students that all ideas are accepted. There is nothing that is too crazy, too out there, too silly.
That's a good question. How could there be fish in a water house?
Thinking more like hollow walls full of water and then the fish could be in the wall.
Ah, awesome.
It's important in this time also that teachers don't let children make up their minds on one idea. It's a free-flowing, high-energy, fast-paced discussion. It is not choose an idea and sit on it forever. To generate questions that really push children's thinking, the first place teachers should go is the workshop brief. This will give them a list of questions suitable for younger and older students. For teachers to think on their feet and generate new questions, the best starter for them is what if. Just that very, very open question starter, what if, really pushes children to take their ideas and turn them around.
Have you thought of maybe there's an alternative to using electricity to power things?
I've got it!
In the workshop kit, teachers will be given question cards. The questions are very open, very generic questions that you can use with students either in a whole class discussion context or in one-to-one questioning. The question cards mean that it is easier for teachers to be able to generate and use stimulating questions. When the students are working at developing their ideas towards the brief, the teacher needs to rove around the room and talk with children on a one-on-one basis.
So tell me about what you've done here. So this is a water kitchen, solely a kitchen. Are there other appliances that might be needed in this kitchen?
The teacher might decide to talk with children who have already formed interesting looking ideas. With those students, the teacher can use question cards or questioning strategies like saying what if, to really push their ideas beyond what they already know.
If those cupboards were not on the bench top, where else could they be in your room?
They could be like on some floating...
For students who are sitting and looking worried or looking blank, a teacher can take a question card and say, did you think about if this invention was placed under the water, what might happen to it?
You've got to be really clear on what the mystery object is, what it does.
In each workshop brief, a teacher will be given one or several mystery objects. The mystery object adds a new layer of interest and challenge for students. Students get to look at it, decide what it might be, what it might not be, what it might be made of, where it might come from, what its functions might be.
Drink, and that's the straw you drink it from. It sort of reminded me of the cat because there was the head, the tail, and then it was sort of a water cat.
The student then has to think, oh, okay, how is that going to work in my house that I'm building? So the two ideas get merged together and it just pushes children's thinking to a new dimension.
It's a sentient light emitting filter.
It eats algae and other things that are in the water.
It, floats or propels itself through the water.
And then it uses that to create light, like a lightning bug.
It's really important that at the end of every workshop a structured sharing time is held. We aim to have students sharing their work in a dynamic way, so presenting it as a sales pitch to potential investors, for example, or as a question and answer time for other students to become involved.
And you're going to think up stumping questions, questions that are going to stump this architect.
Like the water, if it moved a bit, the water could just space it.
Students who aren't speaking should be thinking up questions to ask the inventor. They should be catching new ideas to stimulate their own thinking for later. In this way, every person in that class benefits from having that sharing time.
Very convenient. Oh, okay, fantastic. Excellent. Okay, zoom back out so we see your whole...
Water is pumped in through a natural string at the top of the mountain.
Then you would have this big cylinder that came out, and inside the cylinder was your room.
It's then brought into the house through an upstairs attic window, brought down the house by waterfall.
I have air mattresses for beds, and they're sort of attached to the wall, so when you do have to drain the house to clean it or whatever, it doesn't collapse entirely.
And then it goes out the door and back into the natural stream.